Check 1, 2, 3. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Ryan from Glass Cabinet, and today I'm going to do my review on Batman vs. Superman. Now, this has been going on in the media now for, I don't know, at least a couple days now, almost close to a week. And what we're seeing is quite interesting, especially for us comic book fans and moviegoers, where the critics say one thing and the fans are saying and thinking the other thing or thinking something different. Now, not all fans are super big, backers of this movie. However, it definitely is divided. So we're going to talk a little bit about my thoughts of the movie, also just my impressions of it. This is going to be a two-part video all in one. So the first part is spoiler free, and then the second part, and I'll let you guys know, where it'll go pretty much in a synopsis of the story and then a little bit of my discussion behind that. And so yeah, let's get right into it, and I'm going to go exactly step by step my thought process going into this movie. So, let's. I'm a fan of DC. I'm a fan of Marvel. So like that's not like there is really no fanboy here. I'm wearing a Guardians of the Galaxy T-shirt, which is obviously Marvel. I've got the Trinity back there, and I got the Batman cowl over here. So I am a Batman fan, sure, but I also am a film fan as well, and I like comic book movies in general. So. Like I eat this up. We all eat this up. So we all want it to be good. If a Marvel movie does good, then it helps DC, and a DC movie does good, it helps Marvel, because like all of us as fans like are so excited for the next comic book movie, and if they keep on making money, then they can keep on giving us these movies that we like. So going into this movie about a week ago, or about whatever, beginning of this week, people were like got the first glimpses of the movie, and the fans were like positive. Like it was positive reviews. Twitter was blowing up. Like this movie's great. So I think everyone got really excited. Like this is gonna be cool, right? We're all so pumped for this. And then about a day or two after that, the critics' reviews come in, and let me tell you, it got destroyed by the critics. Like, I'm not going to go too much into the critics. Y'all know exactly how that is. You've seen and read their thought processes on that. However, we'll just go by Rotten Tomato, because that seems to be the standard right now, and it's pretty similar to Metacritic or something like that, the critic score. Anyways, like right now it's at 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I even posted on social media some places where the numbers, it says like 51% of, it's like a 51% from the reviews. However, they got a 30% on the overall score. And I did the numbers. It was like 75 positive, like fresh ones, and then like 171 last night, but now it's like 175 negative reviews. Okay, fine. Critics don't like it, whatever. I'm going to go into that here. However, that number like averaged out is actually like a 44%. So I don't know how Rotten Tomato actually comes to their 30%. Maybe they weight like popular critics, and those scores are the ones that get that like in that score. It's a bunch of junk. On the other side, you have the fan like vote or their review of the thing, and it's like it's in between like 74 and 78. So it's like, okay, like there's a disconnect here. Now I know there's some fans here that don't like it, or they're not up on it like a lot of other people are. So going into it, there's a really high, oh, this is going to be a great by the fans. And then you get brought down, the critics are like trashing you, like, man, this is kind of disappointing. And then they're telling you, oh, like this is just, it's out of control, like too much going on, not enough story, boring, too much stuff, bad editing, like these faults, errors, like all this stuff. And you're just like, man, this is a comic book movie. It's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to have actions. Like, we're not like trying to be like an Academy Award winning like Best Picture here. So it's just kind of disappointing. Like you don't see much of the Marvel films get trashed like this. And let me be honest here, I've seen them. I think the only one that I haven't seen was Fantastic Four, and that one was garbage. And fans said that was garbage, and that was the reason why I was like, okay, I'm staying away from that one. But anyways, so now we're getting to the step. Like I haven't seen the movie yet. This is like Thursday and Friday morning. I saw it Friday night, and now the audience has been a bandwagon on hating the movie now. Like now some people have seen it, and now it's like, hey, critics are saying it's bad. Now it's becoming a popular thing to not like the movie or shine light on its flaws. And I find it quite funny because you don't see this much rage when it comes to Marvel films. And like I said, I'm not trying to come back. I'm not trying to come at this as like a fanboy, but I'm just showing you. I'm just like I'm sitting back and I'm watching all these reviews, and what I get is just I'm just witnessing a bunch of just weird stuff. Like, why so much hate on DC when they're trying to do something different, bring us something different? It's not the same. Marvel and DC are comic books, but they are trying to do two different things. Marvel is great for laughs and some action, and their stories are typically more fun and like relatable to like the family, where DC is more like realistic and dark and just not set in like a happy-go-lucky world, but there is hope and there is like these. It's just like it's it connects with more of an adult audience, and I think maybe that's why I connect with it more, is because like they're trying to do something. They're trying to give you a solid story that actually does make sense and actually makes you invested if you're willing to just take that ride with them and not just be like, I want to eat popcorn and just, man, it's just quite disappointing. Okay, so now I'm going to go see the movie Friday night after all of this. Like, I'm actually watching this. I'm like starting to feel jaded. Like I'm like going into the movie thinking like, man, I was really excited to see this movie, and now I feel like I'm gonna put these like blinders on to like look for flaws and look for things that what is it that everyone is seeing that's so terrible? And I'm thinking like, wow, this movie's probably really bad, and it's gonna be pretty apparent what the problems are. Well, after the first opening sequence, I totally was like, that's garbage. Like, all these reviews, I'm not even thinking about them. Like, I'm enjoying this movie. Let's go. Like, I'm fully invested, and I'm not even gonna let any kind of review sway my decision. Like, I'm gonna just let the movie ride out. Hit so hard opening that I was like, I'm sold. I got it. Like, let's go. Let's go on this ride. And I really appreciated what they were trying to do. And you really got a sense early on, like, where this Batman character is, or Bruce Wayne is at in the stage of this movie, and a little bit more of Superman. Like, it's kind of like the aftermath of Metropolis getting destroyed by him and Zod. So let's see here. It just started off really, really good for me. And I just totally decided not to prejudge the movie. Like, I wasn't going to do that, but with all of that negativity going into it, there was nothing you could do but kind of lean towards that. But it did so well of taking me off of that like ride that I possibly could have taken. So yeah, like I recommend don't prejudge any movie, because then you kind of set yourself up to like look for things. And it really wasn't like I was fully invested in the whole movie the whole time. So I guess this is a perfect time to tell you guys I actually really enjoyed the movie. I would probably give it a 8 out of 10 or maybe 7.5 out of 10. Like, it wasn't the best movie ever, and it was trying to do a lot, but I can commend it for doing that. Like, the story was pretty smart. I didn't get lost. And there might have been a couple times I could not even sit here right this moment. I tried to think like, where did I like lose interest at any point. And I honestly cannot think. I know there might have been like 1 or 2 points for a brief second where I was like, okay, I mean, yes, Batman does have the Batmobile, and he does like use it, and it has, you see that, you saw in like previews, like it has like a gun on it, so it's a little bit different though. So yeah, it might be a little bit shocking. It's a brutal Batman, but Batman in all these recent movies, The Dark Knight, he's not like this soft pushover. Like, he is brutal, and he's even more brutal in this film, which I'm totally okay with. Um, so like I said, it's not bad. All right, so let's go further into this now. I want to talk a little bit more about like Batman, Superman, and the reasons behind this. Um, I don't believe this is going to be spoilerish, but if you don't want to hear any kind of details on any kind of story plots, this is probably a time where I would step away. But if you've seen the movie by now, it might not be a big deal. Or if you want a tiny little bit of spoilerage here, stick around. After this detailed, I will actually go through a synopsis and go step by step, point by point, and I'll tell you the story. And you tell me if you feel like that's enjoyable. And I'm telling you, this is how the movie felt. There's one glaring thing I can understand where people are coming across, where there's a story point where it doesn't fit really well, but it actually makes sense and it does add to the story. Okay, Batman is good. I mean, what can I say? Like, everyone has said Ben Affleck as Batman has been really good. Everyone had fears of it. He plays a really good Bruce Wayne. He plays a really good Batman. What else is there to say? We want to see more of that. It worked. It worked. Superman, you get to see Superman do a lot more in this movie. Like, if you're a Superman fan, this is a movie for you. Yes, it might be a little bit different than what you expected, but I mean, I'm not a huge Superman fan, and I enjoyed Superman in this film. Maybe if you are a diehard Superman fan, maybe this isn't for you, but I mean, we are building a new world, a new cinematic world. Let's detach ourselves slightly from the comics. Like, if a comic came out, right, and Superman was doing the same thing, and Batman was doing the same thing, and like it does in his movies, you wouldn't think so much. You'd be like, oh, it's in the comics, so well, it's in the comics. But like, if he does it in a film, it's like, oh, it's not true to the comics. He can't do that. Like what's the difference? Like, all I have to do is write a comic book with Superman and Batman in it, and they do the same thing. And you're like, oh, well, he did it in the comics. But if I do it in a film, you're like, nah, that ain't gonna work for me. Okay, like, everyone has their opinion, but like, me personally, and I know a lot of people that do like this film, accepted these things, and like, it's a film. Let's enjoy it. It's not like, why do we have to come at it with hate? Like, there could be some stuff, yeah, sure, but like I said, like, the story for me hit on all points. I followed it, everything. I mean, I did not get lost at all. Okay, reasons for the conflict. Like I said, here's a little point. Batman sees Superman destroy Metropolis, and he destroys Wayne Tower. I believe it's Wayne Tower, one of his Wayne building. And Batman is trying to, like, he protects numerous people in the city and then pretty much blames Superman for this destruction. And he's so powerful that if he wanted to, he could just go off and kill as many people as he wanted to, if he wanted to. And at that point, no one really knows what this Superman guy is. So he seems a little dangerous. And Batman at this point, as we know, has already been Batman in Gotham for like 20 years, fighting like criminals like Joker, Riddler, and stuff like that. So he's not he's used to like bad people. And at this point, he doesn't know what Superman is, if he's good or bad. And from what he's seeing, it's killing people and destroying stuff. So he has nothing to think but like, this guy's dangerous and most likely bad. And if there's even a slim chance that he is bad, he needs to be stopped. Perfect. Like, okay, like, that makes sense. Like, you get that. Now, on the flip side, Superman, as Clark Kent, he obviously, as Superman, has all this negative press, like, of blowing up Metropolis. And And there's another scene which I'll cover right after this, but like he's being shown in a negative light. People do not know what the Superman is. Like we have to realize Superman in this world is still like in its infancy. We do not know what this character is. We don't know that he's this, really good guy. I mean, you will, but like he shows these things, but you still don't know. He has to keep on continue proving himself. But there's these other things that happen that show maybe he's not so good, right? So Clark Kent, Superman, sees Batman like fighting crime in a very brutality way, right? And he's like, man, Batman is actually not so good. Like he's not as good as what people think he is. But everyone's like, he's fighting crime, but he's also fighting crime with crime. And Superman, as a good guy, like a goody two shoes kind of thing, is like, nah, he's still bad. So you can see where he thinks Batman is pretty dangerous as well. He looks at Batman as a criminal as well. So like there's a little, you see that motivation. Superman never really has that strong motivation against Batman so much, but he definitely does have motivation to think Batman isn't like this good guy. So, and then now we have a really special point here. Lex Luthor. Some people like this Lex Luthor. Some people dislike this Lex Luthor. I, however, accept it. I think it fits. Like it's a new take on Lex Luthor. Let's get some fresh blood in there. Yes, Lex Luthor is very eccentric, very odd. I don't really know if he's sociopath or psychopath, but he definitely has tendencies. But he's like seeks power, and he sees Superman as this huge threat because of what he's done. Like Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor have a lot of similarities. Like they're both wealthy, smart guys that have these big businesses, and even in a scene, they like have a little hinted conversation, like maybe we could actually do something together. Never pans out, but like you could see that they have similarities, and they also have similarities in the similar reasons why they do not like Superman, because he's so powerful and he could destroy like the world if he wanted to, and he needs to be stopped. So, yeah, I mean, I like this Lex Luthor Joker. A lot of people actually have said like this Lex Luthor is kind of like a blend of Joker, and I guess you could kind of say that, but I'm sure Joker is going to be a little bit more. So yeah, it's like I like the Lex Luthor. I can see where people wouldn't like him, but it was believable to me, and I bought it. It was fun. I mean, it was not a bad portrayal. He didn't do a bad job. He owned up to the role and the way that he was going to portray that character, and he did it the whole movie. So I commend him for that, and it worked for me. I can only speak for myself. It was not a downside to it. Let's see here. Wonder Woman was actually pretty good in this movie. I mean, as Diana Prince, she did all right. She didn't have a big role, but she was in the movie. She did play a critical role, more so build in the Justice League aspects of the film, but she does obviously come in and fight a little bit of Doomsday, which you guys seen probably in trailers. The fight scenes were amazing. Like Superman does some Superman things, saves people, kind of shows like he's a pretty good guy. And then Batman also does Batman stuff, like you see in the film, where he does like there's a scene that's very similar to Dark Knight, where he's trying to get an item, and it's very similar to like the Joker scene in Dark Knight. Obviously, no Joker, but very similar. And then Superman's like, nah, not today. And yeah, it's pretty good. So honestly, I will stop this part of the review, and I'm gonna go right into the synopsis part of it, and we're gonna finish up, and I'll give you some final thoughts on this movie. But I enjoyed it. So now, for all the people that are really curious, like if you're on the board, I'm gonna go like on the fence. Well, actually, at this point, you've probably seen the movie, unless you do not want to see the movie and you're just like, well, what's the movie about? I missed points. And I'll as I go through this, we'll make some comments. Okay, so the film starts off with Superman fighting Zod at the end, like just basically crashing through the buildings, city destroyed. Okay, so Batman saves people in the city. He's like, you see him, he's like driving a car, he sees all this destruction. He's like, what the heck is going on? And then he gets out of the car, he sees his building coming down, and he runs towards the smoke. You see this in the trailer. He gets in there, he sees a guy like on a like basically not impaled, but like a beam on his legs, helps him get off. The guy's like, oh man, thanks Batman, not Batman, but thanks Bruce Wayne. And then he sees a girl about to like have something fall on her. He goes and saves her. And then she's like, he's like, I'm looking for my mom. Or he's like, we'll find your mom. And he's like, do you know where she's at? And then she points to the building, pans up, the building is like ripped to shreds. And then you're like, dang, Superman, right? So right there, I feel like after all that, Batman, Bruce Wayne is starting to get some really strong feelings towards Superman. Like, this makes sense. Like, he's invested in not liking Superman. That I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And this is all in the beginning of the movie. You're like, okay, this is getting good. Then it cuts to a scene in Africa where Lois Lane is, I'm not really sure exactly what she's doing, but eventually it just goes into this like fire gun fight, and she gets held up and Superman saves her. And it gets really, this is the one story point where people are just like, I don't really get it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I will come back to this when it makes sense, where we start to learn what this is all about. But essentially, Superman saves her, and it's kind of weird. You get some of these like plot points of some of these characters that are over there. So whatever. And then let's see here. Yeah, the whole time, like, that's what I'm saying. When the building's falling down, Batman's starting to realize this could be really dangerous. Okay, so after the Africa scene, Lex Luthor convinces Senator Finch to help him recover kryptonite that was found in the Indian Ocean. There's a little clip after all that stuff that there's kryptonite over there, and Lex Luthor finds this information and wants it. And he wants Zod's body. Later, she refuses to help him, and that starts a kind of a process where there's a battle between Lex and the senator for this kryptonite in Zod's body. Bruce is invited to a Lex Luthor or Luthor's like party. He wants to steal some data from him to get some more information to see, like, he's trying to piece together some of these things, and he gets some data. And before he locks it up like on the data, and he has to go let it, the timer, right? So I think it's like 7 minutes. Anyways, he comes back, and then when he goes to get it back, guess what? Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, has stolen the device, which is kind of interesting. So the information on this device shows that Wonder Woman Diana is actually this like warrior that has been alive for 100 years. And also there's like 4 other files on this drive that shows other meta-humans, etc., like Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman herself. So that's started the seed of this, what is this? And then, let's see here. Batman learns that Lex has studies on kryptonite, which then tells him, oh wow, kryptonite is actually what could kill Superman. Okay, or damage him or stuff like that. So now we actually have an object that can kill Superman. And that's the reason why Lex Luthor, when he finds out about this kryptonite, wants to get that kryptonite, because he wants to stop Superman. And then at this point, after he learns all this information, this is the notorious nightmare scene. And this is where he's in this dystopian world where Superman's running it, bunch of parademons, and you have that Omega symbol. This kind of like the dark side. Batman's fighting a bunch of people, and then cut to basically demasking Bruce Wayne by Superman, which Superman in that little dream like blasts two other people. Like he kills people in the dream as well. Batman kills a couple people in that dream as well. And then at the end of this, which is kind of cool, like it's a little setup of like what the world would look like if like Superman was like a bad person running the world, right? Which we would know from that, it would be kind of like Darkseid controlling Superman to then do all this. But we don't really know all that, but that's kind of the theory, kind of like what comic book has taught us. So right after that, Batman is at his, Bat computer, and then, which was probably my favorite part of the movie, Flash comes like time travels right in front of him, like this big old like thing, and he's like telling him about like he's telling him about warning Batman of the impending threat of the future. Basically, that nightmare, like that nightmare is what is going to happen if we don't save, we don't do something about it. It doesn't go too much detail, but you're supposed to relate that dream sequence with the Flash as like, wow, you need to, something is coming up. What's this guy doing? It was really, really cool. And like the key is Lois Lane. He's just saying like the key is Lois Lane. And you're like, what's this all about? But it's pretty cool. I mean, if you know anything on the comics, Flash uses the treadmill to like go try and travel, and it's pretty cool. And like, I wasn't even seeing this, but when it happened in the film, I just was like, whew. I mean, I was so pumped. I'm like, oh my goodness, they are going there. Like, I don't want to really go there with the Marvel, but I think Marvel plays it a little too safe, and that's fine. But DC is going for it, and I'm telling you, like, if they can pull it off, I felt like they pulled this movie off. But if they can keep this up, like Justice League is gonna be fire. It was really cool. Like I don't know. I mean, maybe that was a comic boy in me, but like I saw that and I just was like, dang, Flash time travel, because you don't. This is the first time you see Flash. You don't really see. You see the little symbol in the file, and Batman doesn't actually watch that clip currently at that time, so he doesn't really know what this character does, anything. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's Flash. That's so awesome. Okay. So Batman, after this, right? So now Batman is like, what? Something's definitely going on. Like Superman, Lois Lane, I don't understand what is going on. Batman tries to get Lex's kryptonite, but Superman stops him and basically tells him to stop. Like, this is where he's like, you're a problem. Like, you're just as bad as these other criminals. Batman's like, nah, not today. So then Senator Finch orders Superman to a congressional hearing where Lex is supposedly there, sends like a guy in there in a wheelchair, the same guy that the beam fell on. So that guy really hates Superman, plants a bomb, blows everyone up in the senator room, and people start to blame Superman for this. Superman goes into exile. Lex Luthor dips out before the bomb goes off, so he's out of the clear. The senator dies. Pretty big moment. Like, no, I didn't see that coming. It was like, boom, and Superman obviously did not get hurt. He's just sitting there and just like, what is going on here? Like, I'm getting set up again, which I'm going to go further. There's that side point of that Africa scene where there's a bunch of gunfight and Superman was blamed for it. It's Lex Luthor is setting up Batman in the public eye to be this bad guy. So, like, as much as the good things that Superman does, Lex Luthor on the side is showing, like, setting up these things to make Superman look bad, because Superman inherently isn't going to make himself look bad. But if Lex Luthor can put Superman in situations where he looks like he kills people, then people are gonna start to hate him, and then ultimately his goal is to be able to get the kryptonite. You see that? So if he can get the government to believe that Superman is a problem, is a threat, then the government's going to be like, yeah, you get the kryptonite, do whatever you want, and then he's going to use that to kill Superman. So it makes sense. Like, I don't understand like what was so like it makes sense. Like, how do people miss this? Like, was it edited perfectly? I don't know, but I was enthralled by it. I was like captivated by the film. Like, I, I don't know. Like, it just made sense to me. Like, oh wow, yeah. So he's setting up Superman to look bad in the government's eye. So the government's like, well, whatever you want. You want Zod? You want kryptonite? Go ahead. And then that's how you get some other stuff that's coming later. So Batman obtains the kryptonite at this point after Superman is exiled. He obtains kryptonite, prepares to fight Superman. He's ready. Like, this is like Superman is bad news right now. And at the same time, Lex activates the Genesis chamber in the scout ship, which is the ship that fell down in Man of Steel, which was the Kryptonian ship. And he mixes his DNA with Zod's DNA in that ship. You know what he creates? I'll get to it. Lex lures Superman out of exile by throwing Lois off a building. He lures Lois to the building, and at that point, they have that discussion that you see in the trailer. And at that point, he's like, throws her off the thing without really much warning. And then, obviously, that cues Superman to come out of exile and catch her before she falls and dies. So that makes sense. That's a Superman type of thing, right? And Lex Luthor's still the mastermind behind it all. Wants Superman to come out. Okay. He also, at the same time, he reveals that he knows Superman's secrets, basically like him and her and kryptonite to her. Superman saves her. Then Lex Luthor, at that same point, you think Superman is just going to kill him now. Nah. Lex Luthor blackmails Superman by holding hostage his mother. Okay, so you have to suspend a little bit of thought, like, okay, why doesn't he know where that? But whatever, he can save Lois, but he can't save his mom before she gets captured. Okay, but suspend your disbelief for one thing, right? It's not that big of a deal. It's whatever. It's not. I mean, okay, maybe he was preoccupied. Whatever. like bad movie, terrible movie, makes no sense. Can't do it. I mean, you see it, like, it's okay. And then basically blackmails Superman to fight Batman. Because Batman's already preparing to go. Batman's got his symbol up in the sky. And earlier in the movie, when Superman tells Batman to stop, he basically was like, don't have your bat symbol up. Because he's going to come every time with that bat symbol. So Batman's like, okay. Pops his symbol up. He's waiting for he's waiting for Superman to fight him. And at the same time, that's when Lex Luthor does this Lois Lane thing, and then Superman comes, and then Lex Luthor blackmails him and is like, you know what? If you want to save your mother, go kill the Batman. You know where he's at. He's over there. Okay. So, of course, Superman's like, got this. The fight begins. This is the fight. Superman cannot really talk any sense into Batman. Batman starts doing some pretty cool tricks and stuff, some little bomb things, some guns. Now Superman starts to get a little bit mad. He goes a little bit harder, and back and forth. Batman does get the upper hand. You'll see he has the kryptonite. He uses it like 2 times to weaken him, if not 2 times. Yes. 2 times to weaken him with a gun with like this mist, and then he basically is about to spear him with a kryptonite spear. Lois Lane comes in and essentially saves him. Superman at the same time is like, save Martha, which kind of freaks out Batman because obviously Martha is his mother as well. They start to have this little weird, not like weird connection, but this like connection is like Batman's starting to like, wait, what is going on? Starts to kind of like humanize Superman at this point and realizes, wait, like there's something more to this. Like killing, you know, killing Superman is not the answer here. After a little quick dialogue, he finds out that, you know, Lex Luthor is behind all this, and he has Superman's mother locked away. And at this point, they agree. Batman agrees to save Martha because he's got ways to track where she's located. But Superman, then goes to confront Lex Luthor in the chamber. Okay. Now we have Superman confronting Lex Luthor, which then he gives birth to Doomsday in that chamber, and Superman and Doomsday begin to fight at the same time, or slightly before that. At that time, Batman, which you see in that commercial, is doing that, or he goes into that building, blows out the floor. That is that mission right there is him saving Martha. Amazing mission. Like that was done very well. Really cool. Obviously, he saves Martha, and then at that time they're fighting Doomsday over there. Batman does come back over, helps fight Doomsday, and then Doomsday is getting the upper hand because he just keeps on getting stronger. And Batman actually almost gets laser faced, and Wonder Woman comes in. That's when she comes in, blocks the damage from him because she's like immortal. She's a beast. Like she was good in the film, but she wasn't like insane. Like so, she sees the news reports on the online TV, like, whoa, look at this like monster, and she's contemplating like if she's gonna like leave or if she's gonna help. Obviously, she decides to help, and then it ushers in the three-way battle. Kind of goes back and forth here, and pretty much Wonder Woman's kind of fighting him. Batman hits him with his third and final kryptonite canister because it's Zod. He's part Kryptonian, so kryptonite does affect him. Superman grabs the spear that Batman had and impales Doomsday, and Doomsday basically impales Superman with his bone, and essentially they both die. It was pretty shocker. Like, I mean, I know some people it wasn't like a big emotional thing, and maybe it wasn't. I don't. Maybe I didn't really feel a whole big emotional from it, but it definitely was interesting. And like I think people say they go there at the end, and they did. They killed Superman, which was like kudos to you, man. Like kudos to you to just do something like that. So that was cool. And I mean, same thing with like Han Solo dying. I mean, it was powerful, but people were like, well, it could have been more. Sure, I think maybe your preconceived notion of how it should be, but it's probably never going to live up to that notion of what it should be in your brain. But when it's on film, you know, you judge for what it is, and it worked. It worked. Could it have been better? Maybe, but it worked. I don't know what else to say. Like it worked. Let's see. Lex is arrested at this point, and then Batman is exposed for his crimes. Lex is visited by Batman, kind of like Dark Knight, and Lex actually gloats, which is these are other feeds to the Justice League. Gloats that now that Superman's gone, new threats from beyond Earth could come in and kind of like do some damage to the world. Where at the funeral, Batman talks to Wonder Woman and is basically talking about how he is thinking that he needs to start assembling those metahumans to protect the world while Superman is gone. And essentially, that's the end of the movie. However, at the last beat of the movie, in the grave, there's a little blip that possibly Superman is alive or will come back. My thought behind that, before I end this, because it's going quite long, my thought behind that is Justice League will be about these other metahumans and Batman assembling a team. And then basically at some point, when it's very much needed, Superman will be resurrected or come back in the black suit with the silver, because that was his casket, was black and silver, which looked badass. He'll come back at that time when we need him the most. And I'm excited. I'm excited. Like, it was good. Like, it was good. Like, it was good. Like, it wasn't the best movie ever, but it was good. Like I said, 8 out of 10. Like, that's not bad. Like, that's good. Like, I was in there. So anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on this movie. Tell me what you guys think. What's all this talk about the negative reviews? Like, do you really think this movie deserves all the negative reviews it's getting? I felt it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought the story was really fleshed out, and very different than what you get from other comic book movies. Like, there's a lot going on here, but that's not a bad thing. That's trying to actually give you some substance. And, yeah, there wasn't a lot of laughs, but what do you, I mean, you want to be entertained? Do you want to have a story? Or do you just want to laugh and be like, what did I watch? I mean, I don't know. And, I'm sure there's people that are like, what did I watch with this movie? I can't speak for them. I don't know why it didn't connect with some people while it connected with others. Anyways, this is my thoughts on Batman vs. Superman, and I'm signing out. This is Ryan from Glass Cabinet. Hope you guys enjoyed this review of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.